Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I had a story sent to me by a whole ton of people. Stories out of Canada. And I apologize. I couldn't list all the names. There'd be just far too many. But and over a period of time, too. But this happened recently in Ontario. An Ontario man has warranty denied for $20,000 in car repairs over lack of paperwork. This could happen in America, and it's not necessarily illegal. So here is the thing. The man buys a used car from a dealership. It's got the manufacturer's express warranty still in place. It suffers an engine failure. He brings it in for warranty work, and the manufacturer denies the work and says, we need to see receipts for all the oil changes because we think a lack of maintenance is what caused this problem. Guy goes, I don't have oil changes when I bought, before I bought the car. They said, oh, that's too bad. Does anybody have them? Not that I know of. Well, unless you can prove that to us, we're not going to pay to have the new engine put in. And a lot of people are not going to like to hear that, but I'll explain more at the end how that works because it actually comes from, in America, a thing called the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which specifically allows that if the facts are correct. So Pat Ferran wrote the story for CTV News, Toronto. An Ontario man who bought a used car was told his warranty would not cover a $20,000 repair bill because he lacked appropriate paperwork. You, of course, can save money by buying a used vehicle. It's only a couple of years old. It may still come with the remainder of the factory warranty. But if something goes wrong with a used car, you still have to show proper maintenance was done, which could be a challenge. In the middle of December, I heard a knocking in the engine, so I decided to take it into the dealership, he said. He bought a 2019 Infiniti QX60 in June of 2021, and when it had engine trouble in December, he was told a new engine would cost about $20,000, $20,000 Canadian. He said when he bought the SUV, it had about 48,000 kilometers on the odometer, and the engine trouble started at around 68,000 kilometers. So he bought it at 48, drove it for 20,000 kilometers. Now it's got an engine knock. He was told it would be covered under warranty at first, but then they said, well, we need to see the oil change receipts, make sure they were done on time. And since he bought the vehicle used, he did not have any oil change receipts predating his purchase of the vehicle. And so I often talk to clients and say, by the way, you should save all your maintenance records for your vehicles, and this is one of the reasons why. He said, I told him, I can't give you anything I didn't do on the car. This was before my time. He went back to the dealership where he bought the SUV, but they didn't have any maintenance records and couldn't tell him where to get them because they hadn't done the maintenance. So without proof of oil changes, his warranty was denied. Now, he said they should fix the problem for free. That's what the warranty is for. It's a bumper-to-bumper warranty for 4 years or 100,000 kilometers, and I was within that. Now, in Canada, there's a thing called the Canadian Motor Vehicle Arbitration Plan, CAMVAP, which helps vehicle owners with disputes involving warranties. But the general manager of CAMVAP said it's up to the consumer to prove their vehicle has been properly maintained. Burden of proof. We'll talk about that in a second. The big issue for this consumer is the ability to prove the maintenance has been done on this vehicle. He said it shows the importance of asking for maintenance records when buying a used vehicle. It's really important when you buy a used vehicle to try and get the maintenance records if you can or know where the vehicle was serviced in the first place. You can always ask the person selling you the vehicle, where'd you get your oil changes done? When CTV News Toronto reached out to Infiniti, a spokesperson for the parent company, Nissan, said Infiniti Canada is aware of the situation and can confirm a thorough assessment of the vehicle has been made, upon which it has been determined that lack of maintenance is the cause of the engine fault. The Infiniti Owner's Manual and the Infiniti Service and Maintenance Guide for this vehicle specify the required maintenance and service intervals, as well as the accountability of the vehicle owner to maintain records and proof of all services performed. Our customer service team contacted the customer, informing them of the possible next steps they can take, while noting that the customer was unable to meet the documentation conditions of the warranty, resulting in the fact that the vehicle repair cannot be covered under warranty. The man took the SUV to another mechanic and then paid to have $8,000 worth of engine work done and go that way. So he got it fixed, but it cost him $8,000. But to have it fixed at the dealership under warranty, they said no, and it was a $20,000 repair bill. Now, CTV writes, no matter how old your vehicle is, it's a good idea to keep track of all maintenance records, especially oil changes, not just for yourself, but if you sell your vehicle, you can hand them over to the new owner. A couple things here. First of all is if you read the owner's manual that came with your vehicle or the warranty booklet or whatever it's in. It's going to be in something in the glove box. We refer to these as glove box warranties. And somewhere in there is going to be a booklet or a pamphlet, written stuff on paper. It's going to say, here's what we cover, here's what we don't cover. And it'll say specifically, we do not cover misuse, abuse, and so on of the vehicle. So we've heard about that before. But it does say that you must follow the recommendations in this manual for the warranty to be honored. And one of those is routine maintenance and the service intervals. And the number one problem that I've heard people call me about is a lack of oil change receipts. There were some vehicles in the old days, some engines in particular, that were notorious for sludging. You'd have this vehicle, you'd be driving it, and you go to pull the dipstick out, and it's covered with something gooey. You go to drain what's in there, and what comes out is sludge. And what would happen in some vehicles is moisture would get into the engine and mix with the oil and turn into this weird sludge stuff. And, it depends on the vehicle. And so that would often appear to be similar to what happens to somebody who drives their car for too long with dirty oil that's not enough oil in the oil pan also. So low oil that's dirty can often come out looking like sludge. So if you bring a vehicle into a dealership and it's got an engine knock, you say, I want you to look at the engine knock. One of the first things they're going to do is pull the dipstick and take a look at the oil. They might drain some oil out to take a look at it. And if they look at it and it's all sludged up, their first question is going to be, how often do you change the oil in this thing? And if you say, I change it like clockwork. In fact, I change it so often that I'm actually ahead of the recommendations. And I've got documents to prove it. Hand the documents over, they look at it and they go, okay. Maybe it's an engine sludging problem that is our fault. But if you say, I don't have any oil change receipts. Who does your oil changes? I do. Do you have any receipts for the oil that you bought? I pay cash. Where do you buy the oil? Different places. Kmart, Kresge, Woolworths, different places. I buy oil and a filter and I do it myself in my driveway. Have no paperwork to prove this. Trust me. Okay, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to trust you. And unfortunately, there are people out there who do not take care of their cars. And I know this is kind of a funny thing about car guys, okay? When I see somebody abusing a car, it actually hurts me. I hate to see someone abusing a car. And we've seen that before. I've seen someone driving down the road on a flat tire that turned into nothing but a rim just grinding on the pavement. And I don't look at that and go, gee, that's goofy. I cringe. It hurts me to see that. And so I've known people who've owned cars who don't change the oil. And if you ask them why, they go, I just check it. As long as it's got oil, we're okay, right? Or I can't afford oil changes. They're expensive or whatever. But the owner's manual says you must do these things to keep your warranty intact. And the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act in America, this is where the law comes from, says specifically that a warrantor offering a limited warranty, because that's what this would be, may require you to perform maintenance on the product. They can't make you use their parts. You don't have to use Infinity oil and Infinity oil filters, okay? But you have to change it with something that's suitable, okay? And so the law specifically says that they can require you to do certain maintenance on it to keep the warranty intact. And if they accuse you of misuse or abuse of the vehicle and say that's what caused the problem, they're allowed to do that. And then the onus or the burden of proof is on you to prove that it wasn't caused by that. And so if you know this is coming as a potential down the road, the obvious, easy solution is when you change the oil, save your receipts. I've actually had guys tell me, I changed the oil in my driveway. And I say, do you have any receipts? And they go, yeah, I do. I saved them all. And they've got receipts from, the auto parts store. And it says, bought 5 quarts of oil, 4 quarts of oil, whatever it is, and an oil filter. And I got a stack of these receipts. Now, ideally, in a perfect world, you would take it someplace where they change the oil and they give you a printout where they also keep it in their system. They give you a little sticker for your window, and you take the big receipt that's got all the information, including the mileage and the date that the work was done, and you put that in your glove box. And right now, in the glove box of all three of my vehicles are stacks of oil change receipts. I've just gotten in the habit of doing that because I've been putting up and seeing these arguments, and seeing these arguments for so long that I know tell you what, I'm just going to do that. Do it to protect myself. So here's the other issue I'd like to point out. The dealership ain't helping this guy, and they really ought to be. And I know it's too late now because he got the engine fixed. But if you buy a car from a dealership, new or used, if it's from that dealership's parent company, in other words, you go to an Infiniti dealer and buy a used Infiniti, okay? When you bring it back into them for service, they're going to have a service manager who's the guy who does the liaison with the company, or somebody who does the liaison with the company on company repairs. And I've spoken to guys who've had that job, and I've also spoken to guys who were the person at the company who made these decisions. And they have told me overwhelmingly that when they get a situation like this, because let's assume what this guy's saying is completely true. He bought the vehicle, and once he bought it, he made all the scheduled repairs, the oil changes, maintenance, all that. He did all of that. He just doesn't have any of the paperwork from before he bought it. Most people look at that and go, that is kind of unfair. That the guy thought he had a warranty, bought the vehicle, paid prices as if it had a warranty, and now finds out that one of the biggest things you can have go wrong with the vehicle went wrong and they're not going to cover it. And that dealership could have gone to the manufacturer and just said, hey, look, let me explain this to you guys here. He bought it used, yes. But as you know, a big part of our market is selling, pre-owned cars, certified pre-owned cars, and just, whatever. This was an Infiniti product sold at an Infiniti store. And this guy, as far as we can tell, took great care of the car, did everything he was required to do. And the simple fact that he can't prove what happened to the car before he bought it, it's not really his fault. And they could have gone to bat for him. And I think there's a very good chance they could have gotten that repair done. Assuming that the facts in the story are completely 100% exactly as presented, because there's a possibility that they may have turned up something else. So I don't know. But that's the thing I'm disappointed by in the story, is that the dealership, and again, we don't know because that doesn't look like they interviewed the dealership for the story, but I'd be surprised to hear that the dealership had gone to bat for this guy and still lost, because they can go to the manufacturer and say, look, we sell cars, we like this guy, we think he's going to buy more cars from us in the future, and it's not really his fault. It's not his fault. But legally, at least in America, the manufacturer can do that. They can ask you to prove that you maintain the vehicle and to prove that the failure wasn't caused by your lack of maintenance. Okay? Now you might say, Steve, let's suppose that you actually knew that all the oil changes were done, but you have no evidence of it. Let's just assume it's one of those facts that, somebody up above leaned over and said, all the oil changes were done. Trust me. So they're all done. But they still deny the claim because they say there's something wrong with it. In theory, you could hire a certified master mechanic or somebody who is an expert in engine teardowns, rebuilds, and repair, and have them come in and tear the engine apart and go, what's wrong with it? And if they say, well, it looks like a lack of oil changes, you're going to be out of luck on that one. But if they come back and say, no, it's an oil sludging problem, it's got nothing to do with lack of oil changes, well, then you go to court and see who a jury is going to believe, because manufacturers are going to have mechanics also who can look at that and go, oh, no, it's exactly what the manufacturer tells me to say. I mean, it's exactly what they think it is. And we agree. So that's what would happen. But keep in mind that going forward, what you should take from this is save the receipts for all the maintenance work you have done on your vehicle. And it's an interesting story. We can all learn a lesson from it. But Ontario man has warranty denied for $20,000 in car repairs over lack of paperwork. Pat Foran for CTV News wrote it, and a lot of people sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Tired and scared happens to everyone. Just don't let your feet stop.